epoxy floors really DIY friendly? And I'm not gonna lie, there were definitely some moments where I thought I was in over my head. But in this video, I'm gonna break down the real process. What worked, what didn't work, and what I would 100% do differently if I were to do this project again. But the end result, yeah, this one's gonna be worth it. Alrighty, y'all, before we get started, I'm gonna be very honest with you. This is definitely not a one-day project and not even a one-weekend project. This project took several working days, from grinding concrete to patching to applying my epoxy and top coat, and then the dreadful 7-day wait for the epoxy to fully cure. But I promise you, the wait will be worth it. So the first and worst step of this process is going to be grinding down your concrete. The point of grinding down the concrete is to open up the pores to allow the epoxy to truly soak down and adhere into the concrete and not to just sit on top. Now this did require me to rent some tools from Home Depot, and let me go ahead and save 3 hours of your life because this part almost took me out. So I rented a 10-inch walk-behind grinder and a 7-inch hand grinder, and I thought everything was going well. But after working for 3 hours, I realized that the machine was not set up properly. I took the machine back to Home Depot, and of course a man tried to mansplain me and told me that he had never had this issue before. The machine was working perfectly and he really didn't want to hear what I had to say. But once the machine was fixed, I was compensated for this inconvenience and it was time to get back to work.
So here's what things look like when the walk-behind grinder was set up properly. Now, I did have plans the next day, so I wanted to turn the rental back in before they closed, which means I wasn't able to grind as much as I would have liked with the walk-behind grinder. But y'all, I highly recommend grinding as much as possible with that walk-behind grinder and only using the hand grinder for the edges. Because as you can see, y'all, there is literally dust everywhere. Now, this didn't automatically come with the dust collection system, so I did have to go back to the store to get a universal dust collector, which took me over an hour to connect, y'all. But this is still a messy project even with the dust collection, so please make sure you're wearing your proper PPE.
So it's really important that you clean behind every step of this project. It's going to be really important that you don't leave any concrete dust behind because that excess concrete dust can then stop your epoxy from adhering to the concrete. Step number 2 in this process is going to be to complete your patch work. So Stone Coat Epoxy offers 2 different patch kits, a Pro Patch kit and then a DIY kit. The major difference between these 2 kits is that the Pro kit is going to cure a little bit faster, so you have a smaller working time. Because I've worked with epoxy before, I went ahead and got the Pro kit. Now you may see some cracks in your concrete, but you're only going to need to fill the cracks that are larger than a playing card. So just take a playing card and try to stick it into that crack, and if you can, then you need to patch it, and if you can't, you're good to go.
Once you know which cracks you have to fill, you want to go in with your hand grinder and essentially create a small valley for the patch kit. Now here I have part A and part B that you're going to mix together. Y'all, please make sure you mix this together quickly and make sure you work fast, okay? By the time I went to smooth this out, y'all, it had already started to dry. Like, look at this. But one good thing about it drying fast is that you're able to go ahead and grind this down within 30 minutes. And even though this started to dry before I was able to get it an even finish, I was able to kind of like pull this off, apply a second coat, and everything still turned out fine. And once your patch has fully cured, it's time to go in with your hand grinder and then you're going to grind that down to create an even, smooth finish. And don't forget to clean after every step.
When it comes to this project, there are going to be some extra tools that you're going to need, like mixing containers, your metal scraper, your squeegee. And so I have all of those things linked down below in the description. So now it's time for the fun part, throwing the flakes. But before we can get there, you have to apply your moisture seal primer to your space so that way your flakes have something to adhere to.
Y'all, this is the part of this process where your floors are truly going to transform. Now, before you mix parts A and part B together, you want to make sure that you mix part A just by itself first. The moisture seal primer is going to help to seal your concrete, give you your base color, and give your flakes something to adhere to. Now, when you mix parts A and part B together, this creates an exothermic reaction, which means that this reaction is going to give off heat. You cannot leave your moisture seal primer in the mixing container. You're going to have to empty it from the container. If you have a vertical wall in your garage, you're going to want to do that space first. So you roll on your primer on the entire vertical surface and then come back, roll on again, and then throw on your flakes. When it comes to the actual floor of your garage, you want to take your moisture seal primer and pour it out in these thin ribbons like this. From there, you're going to take a squeegee to then spread the moisture seal primer out, and you want to keep it as thin and even as possible. Now, if you end up like me and you have to do your floor in 2 different sections, you want to make sure that you overlap your moisture seal primer slightly after letting your first section completely dry and you scrape off those additional flakes. Once everything is spread out as best as you can, you're then going to take a 1/4 inch roller and then you're going to back roll in front to back and then also side to side to make sure that your primer is as evenly covered as possible. Y'all, it's finally time for the exciting part about this project. Y'all, I have been working for days to finally be able to throw these flakes. Now, I decided to go for a full coverage, y'all. I hate seeing epoxy floors where there's like a few specks here, a few specks there. Like, I truly wanted the flakes to be the star of this project. And as you can see, they definitely are. Y'all, it looks so good, but we're not done yet.
Pro tip, when it comes to applying your flakes, you want to throw your flakes up as if you're feeding chickens. Now again, y'all, I've never worked on a farm before, but essentially the whole point of this is to throw your flakes up into the air to let gravity help disperse them to get an even look. So of course, you're here to learn from my mistakes. So if I were to do this project again, what I would do is I would mix less primer that first time. So I have just enough primer to go around and coat my vertical edge. I wish I would have been able to just do my vertical space, let that dry, scrape that, and then move those flakes out of the way and then do the entire floor at the same time.
So I got to partner with Stone Coat Epoxy for this project, y'all, and there are so many reasons why I wanted to work with this brand. Durability, product quality, y'all, they truly make this project DIY friendly as much as possible, y'all. They have so many tutorials on their website and their YouTube.
I truly hate that blue-gray color when it comes to epoxy garage floors, so I really wanted to go with something different, so I decided to go with Shoreline Flake. Now, Stone Coat Epoxy has a variety of different flake colors, so many that I changed my design like 3 times because I wasn't sure which color I wanted to go with.
So if you're ready to transform your garage floors, be sure to use my code Keeping Up with KJ for 10% off your next order.
Step number 4 in this process is going to be to scrape off and get rid of your excess flakes. So you're going to take a metal floor scraper, y'all, and make sure that you are getting something with a long handle so you aren't breaking your back. So you're going to take that metal scraper and go in both directions so that way you can get rid of the extra flakes on the floor and that there's none kind of poking up to be able to poke through your epoxy top coat. You're also going to do this on your vertical wall as well, so you're going to use a small putty knife for that. And just like that, you're at the 5th and final step of this process, applying your polyaspartic top coat. Now, epoxy floors can be slick, so you want to make sure you're adding your non-skid additive to your polyaspartic top coat.
And just like with your Moisture Seal Primer, with your top coat, you want to apply to your vertical surfaces first. The key to getting a professional finish with your top coat is to make sure that you have an even thin layer of top coat. Making sure to not let any product pool in a specific area because if you do, it's going to turn cloudy and bubble up.
And now, we wait. Your epoxy floors are going to take 7 days to fully cure. So just be safe, y'all. I made sure to not put anything back into this space because I didn't want to ruin all of the hard work that I just put in. So the question is, are epoxy floors truly DIY friendly? And I have to say yes. But y'all, don't be like me. Get you a set of extra hands so that way your working times aren't as stressful. And if you're still watching this video, be sure to hit that like button. Comment down below and let me know, would you actually try out this project? And if you're not already, hit that subscribe button because there's so much more to come from the channel. And it's time for you to start keeping up with KJ. See y'all next week.